Hello friends, today this video is a little different than usual. It won't have any music in it, but I'm going to be talking a lot about music. In fact, I'm going to be focusing on children's music. Those of you who know me know that children's music is a passion of mine. I am on our state's chapter board for the Choristers Guild and have been for a few years. I've been part of the Choristers Guild festivals since I think the first one I participated in was 10 years ago. 12 years ago, something like that. And we don't have those festivals every year, but every time that we have had one since then, I've been involved in some capacity, whether as a workshop leader or a member of the board helping to get things planned. So it's been my dream that entire time to have a children's choir of my own, and I've never been in a position working in a place that wanted a children's choir, or that had the kids who seemed interested in being in a children's choir, or whose parents wanted more than a babysitting service, that they valued the music education, right? And in my current context, we worship about, I think, 52 or 53 people a Sunday. Sunday school itself runs anywhere from 10 to 3 kids. It's not a large congregation. We held our first rehearsal for a youth choir at the beginning of the month. How? How did we do this? That's been one of the 2 responses I've gotten from my music colleagues. The first response is always, "Oh, that's awesome! So happy for you! That's great!" And then the second response is, "How did you do that?" Especially knowing the size of my current congregation. So firstly, I'd say I was just very honest about my hours and about my energy. I work part-time. I didn't have hours to put to recruitment. I didn't, because all that time is being used elsewhere, right? And I love rehearsals, but they don't take me as much, prep time as recruitment would have. And we don't run our adult choir all year. We run the adult choir seasonally. We sing at Christmas and at Easter. So, there are maybe 4 to 6 weeks on either side of that where there's rehearsals on Sunday morning and where I'm choosing music for that. But the rest of the year, the time that would have been used to develop the adult choir repertoire and so on, is available to me. So I had those hours available for the rehearsal aspect of it, but not for the recruitment. And I didn't have the energy for it either. You know what it's like. You go to families and you try to start the conversation and they tell you about all their activities. They tell you about how busy they are. They tell you about how much they value that being part of the congregational ministry and part of the draw of the congregation, but they don't really have the time or the energy themselves to put towards that. So I couldn't do the recruitment. In the fall, I was having a conversation with one of our congregational members who I don't think is very familiar with my background. I don't think realized how much I love children's music. And his kind of joke to me was, "Hey, we should have a children's choir, nudge, nudge, wink, wink." And my response was, "I'd love to. Find me a minimum of 4 students and I'll do it." And he was a little taken aback by that, but immediately said, "Wow, okay," called over one of our high school students and said, Did you know this? Have you ever talked with Karin about this?" And I looked at this young student and I said, "Yeah, if you find me a minimum of 4 students, I'll start a youth choir. I'll start a youth choir for those 4 or 8 kids or however many you can find. But less than that, I can't super justify those hours." I have friends and colleagues who have 2 in their choir right now, and that works for them, and that's great. I just knew that wasn't going to work with my schedule and what I needed to have happen. Well, this particular high school student was very enthusiastic about this idea, has been looking for ways to be involved, has talked about joining our seasonal adult choir, but also a little leery of that. She hasn't had a lot of choir experience herself. So when the idea of recruiting her peers came up, she flew out the gates, and within a couple weeks she had a list of like a dozen names of people who were interested. So I chose a date for a start, and as soon as you choose a date, you lose half your people, right? Because they can't make it. Families are busy. So we chose the day of the week, and our first rehearsal we had 7 students. By the third rehearsal we had 4, and that's about what I expected, honestly. Families are busy, students are busy, and you have to be okay with having smaller numbers, and you have to be okay with what might look from the outside like a discouraging trend. Oh, you start with so many and it shrank so fast. And in fact, one of my colleagues commented on that recently, but I'm like, no, I expected that. Especially in the spring. Families are busy. You have soccer and basketball and all these things. And then baseball starts up and it's a whole other ball game, literally. So you have to be okay with having small numbers. You have to be okay with not being the one doing the recruiting. And you have to find that person who has the energy for it. We're also partnering with our ministry, partners. And I'm Lutheran, and I'm going to be having conversations with the Episcopal Church down the road about how we might be able to have our youth choirs do something together. Maybe their church one Sunday, our church the next Sunday. Things like that help expand our kids' reach and their relationships, and gives them a really positive experience with children's music. I'm watching my available time tick down on my phone, so I'm gonna leave it here. I'm really excited. That's a little bit about the how of how I made this happen in our context, and I hope that it's useful to you. Good luck and God bless.